Throwing it all away at that point. These jokes you're writing, Whitney, these are just cruel and callous.
I'm out for blood.
God damn.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists.
A little more pep to it, can we?
This is all you're getting today. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. And now broadcasting from the churn, that guy's Dr. Jim. That's Whitney. I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Man, Nick, you just seem so filled with life and vibrancy. It's so fun to see you as a birthday boy again, you know? Fresh out of the box.
Yeah, again, I forgot it was my birthday.
Hope and joy.
Really
Did you like your birthday presents that I got you?
I did. That was very...
I feel that of all the things I've ever gotten you, this is probably the most tolerable.
It is. It was the least scary to open.
Yeah, that's very true.
That.
Yeah, and the container itself, very useful.
Yes. Yeah.
People should enjoy that.
The bucket.
Zay Bucket. Patreon.com/therapy. You can celebrate Nick's birthday with us and hear about all the fun times. You've got Jacob's travels in there.
Sushi.
Yes, you get to find out our wonderful story of the worst day of next year so far. Still early in the year.
It's only April.
It's only April. We got a lot of time left on the clock.
Not even halfway done.
I'll tell you what. If this is what 42 looks like,
End it here.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. It is not.
This is that hill we're talking about.
We are not off to a
Downhill.
good start. Yeah. Pretty awful.
Yeah, go check it out. Patreon.com/therapy. Don't forget about all those extra goodies that air every week. This week, I believe we've got the episode where I do a book review on a science fiction book that I read that I really liked called Dark Matter by Blake Couch.
And next week, I got to find something to talk about.
It's going to be good. I'm sure it'll be riveting.
And not only that, I got to record it like tomorrow.
That's right.
Because I'm going to be gone.
Yeah. It'll be fine. Whitney and I will hold down the fort. It'll be good.
Yeah.
How's your Nick Tangement impression?
I don't want to try. I've never tried one.
Hold on.
You got this. Here's the script. You can do this. You can do it. Just right through the nose. A lot of nose. You got to get that in there.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists.
This is great.
You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at PodTherapyGuys. Guys, I feel offended.
Oh, there it is.
At
I knew she was going to catch that.
gmail.com.
It's too late to change the handles, Whitney. We're in too deep.
Okay.
I'm
In
kidding.
6 years. Yeah. That was good. It's like looking into a mirror. Listening
fine.
to a mirror.
Thank you.
That was
Cool.
excellent.
I do not feel bad at all taking next week off.
It'll be fine.
It'll be great.
We'll
right.
steer the ship for
I
you.
recognize that the term guys is an inherently sexist term. I recognize that and I agree with it.
Okay.
However, I need a single syllable term
Yes.
that encompasses everyone.
That just, yeah.
Because like I can say, hey everyone.
Yeah, that's too much
3
words.
syllables.
Yeah, people.
I got places
Yeah.
to go.
Humans.
No, you don't.
I got stuff going on.
I
I don't have
busy
time for
schedule.
2 extra syllables.
I can't be sussing around with all this
No, and yes.
I
are the
need
answers
I
to
need a
those questions.
single syllable term that just encompasses everyone.
Y'all,
Yeah.
I'm
Y'all.
telling you.
Hey y'all,
Y'all.
welcome to Pod Therapy.
I think
Y'all?
it's just fucks. I think, hey, you fucks.
Yeah, that's 2 syllables. You fucks.
All right.
No, to
We're
be
gonna
fair,
workshop it.
I don't feel offended if somebody's like, "Hey guys, what are y'all up to? Or what are you guys doing?" Like, I
Right.
wouldn't be like,
Just a
No, I
plural.
don't think you were. I didn't think you were actually offended by that.
I feel like it's an interesting topic, though.
I'm simply saying, like it is. I believe definitely an inherently sexist term.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily malicious, and I mean I use it often.
Just a holdover.
But it does kind of tickle the back of my brain whenever I use it,
Really?
and there is someone who identifies as female in the group of people that I'm speaking to, and it doesn't bother me to the degree that I even change my behavior.
Yeah.
But
No.
I would like another 1-syllable term that encompasses everyone.
That is true, because I mean, I say guys all the time.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like it's like just taken on its own meaning in some ways, though? You know how
Yeah.
words
Little
do
bit.
that? It's
Yeah.
It's like its own neutral
Yeah.
term.
It doesn't have to mean a certain gender in that sense, in that context. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with this.
Like when I say, hey, fuck wallets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jim knows that I
Gender
mean him.
neutral.
Yeah.
Me and all the people standing near me.
Yeah.
They're just the collateral damage of this.
Yep.
Oh, anyway.
Whitney wrote
so
that
anyway,
joke, by the way.
Whitney's wrote some real zingers today. You can
I'm
hear
doing great.
all of
I'm doing
Whitney's
great.
very offensive jokes. Patreon.com/therapy as delivered by Jacob. Which
Yeah.
Jacob,
I just read them.
You know, and again, you are a brave comedic soul.
Yeah.
Just reading them like they're written. You know,
Yep.
just straight from the paper.
Trust
I'm an,
me.
I'm an
Trust me.
actor,
Yeah,
and Whitney is the playwright.
yeah. You're not really here to edit. Yeah,
No,
you're-
no. I'm not here to-
You
I'm
just
not here to
channel
question.
it. No, yeah,
Yeah, sure.
Not here to question what's written on the page.
So we should explain who Whitney is.
Oh, there's that. Yeah.
This being
Besides
the third,
being a comedian.
the third episode.
Thanks
that
for
we-
coming, everybody.
That's
That's all the time
we
get
have
to this
today.
Nick Tingeman.
So we've had
Eagle
some, we've had
Scout.
some folks like, hey, who's this Whitney person? So
I'm sorry, just real quick.
Sure.
Whenever Jacob interprets Nick and does an impersonation of him, it's basically Sam the Eagle from the Muppets. Like it's just
A little more nasal, though.
Industry, capitalism, the American way.
Industry, capitalism, the American way. I'm Nick Tangeman. This is Pod Therapy.
Oh God,
I wish I had that kind of inflection
honestly
in my
very
voice.
good. I'd buy a car
Actually,
from that
yeah.
voice.
Yep.
You were saying you were
I'll sell you a
introducing
car.
Whitney.
Shit, I don't remember what I was saying.
All right, moving
something-
on. First letter.
Whitney exists.
So,
This is Whitney, everybody. First letter.
no. I'm going to explain this.
You go do your thing.
I'm going to explain.
Jacob's like, no.
Our listeners deserve to know.
Yes.
It doesn't, I'm
Whitney
just going to
is.
edit this part out. It's
That's
fine.
fine.
Don't edit anything.
Leave him alone.
It's way more effort
It's
than
his
you would ever
birthday.
put into this.
Had a hard day.
It's really not that much effort. I'm just going to do it.
So
I'm
yeah,
gonna
so
delete the show. Actually,
Whitney's a therapist, friend of mine. We're bringing Whitney on kind of part time just to kind of fill in a little bit. Jim-
also, she's been a guest on the show.
She
season
has.
1. I think she was
have.
actually the very first guest of the show. I want to say that's true.
yeah,
Maybe.
I think that she's in like the first 10 episodes.
yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
it's episode 4, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's what I was going to
Yeah,
say. 3 or
that's
4.
it. That she's definitely the first person to be in that
Yeah.
room.
So anyway,
They finally invited me back.
yes.
Yep. We got all the way back around.
Yeah, it was a 6-year audition. So Jim and I kind of have been talking over the last several months about how just our schedules have gotten a little hectic. Jim now has adult children,
Damn near.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, every night of the week I've got things going on. So
Yeah.
time is crunched.
Jim has to go to all those man scout meetings.
where they scout men.
All right, let's back to one.
Okay,
Let's delete
all right,
this.
start
Let's
over.
flush
Start
it.
over.
Let's start over.
Yeah, so
I'm Nick
There
Tangeman.
it is.
Welcome to the Man Scouts,
Jim has been very busy.
where we
and
always get our man.
Oh, there it is.
we have kind of decided, like, okay, number one, it started off with just Jim and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought we needed to add a little bit of diversity. So then we brought in Jacob, because Jacob has long hair. We have
we
short
short
hair.
hair.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that
Diverse.
was- yeah, we
Diverse.
wanted to make sure that voice was heard.
Jacob has long
On the
hair
show.
and a studio.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that-
Which
that
was
that
more
the
diverse
bigger
than we
part.
had at the
Yep.
Yeah,
time.
that was
That's a
Diversity
benefit.
in
Diversity.
old wooden ship.
yeah. And so now we thought, like, oh, hey, it'd be great to have a female voice on the show.
Yes.
And not only that, but boy, would we like to take some time off every once in a while.
It's nice to have help. Yes.
Because I have never missed a show,
This is true. Except for that one that you missed.
which didn't air.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
I was going to say,
There's no proof that
Nick
you've
has
ever
been on
missed a
every show that has
Yeah,
aired.
I
That's
have been on every show that has
true.
aired.
Wow.
Yeah.
Perfect attendance.
Yeah.
That's how you get Eagle Scout
Yes.
right there.
That
Exactly.
is.
And so we've done that before, where we've tried to have people fill in, and it's always last minute trying to
Yeah.
get somebody, and it's been chaotic. And we decided, let's actually kind of start bringing somebody on a regular basis.
Yes.
To kind of help relieve some of the stress that we have to go through as far as attendance and having to
And
coordinate
getting
stuff
fresh
and
views,
all of that.
you know,
Yeah.
which is such a big part of it too. Just like I think that we've tried over these years to be therapists in front of people, but also be super approachable and casual.
Yeah.
And I think that's helped because then people get to know us and they're like, okay, that's what it might be like to talk to a therapist.
Yeah.
But anytime we can broaden that out and get a more familiar voice in rotation, it's like, okay, so this I haven't gotten to know this therapist yet, right?
Yeah.
And so the more they get to know you, the more it's one more, piece of data that's like, hey, this is another therapist that exists. you can feel more and more comfortable talking to us. You know,
Yeah.
so that's really important too, to get them in rotation.
Absolutely. And I mean, it was a very long process of trying to find the right person to fill that seat. And
Yeah, we dropped off like 12 of our colleagues on an island and just threw one
Right.
Bowie knife in the sand and just
Yeah.
said, one of you will.
and Whitney grew up with Bowie knives. So
Yeah.
I
Well, she
did.
was also the quickest
She was-
on top of that
yeah.
night. Everybody else was waiting. She was like, nope, I've played this game before. Not going to wait. You hesitate, you die. So she
winner
made it
of
through
the
gauntlet.
winner of the Therapist Hunger Games.
Yes.
Whitney.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean,
Welcome
she talked in
aboard.
the pre-show about her archery skills.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she don't fuck around.
No.
So. But yep, Whitney's a therapist, a colleague of ours. We've known her for a long time, been on the show from the beginning. So really has that pedigree of being with us literally in show 4. So she technically predates Jacob. I just think that's
Oh
important.
yeah.
Sure.
Seniority.
Yes, that's right. She's got to.
That's why I'm letting her write my jokes.
Yes, I knew he was gonna say.
Yeah.
So welcome aboard. May
Thank
the odds ever
you.
be in your favor.
Thanks.
So.
Before we get to
Thank
the
you.
first letter, I've got another joke here from Whitney. Knock,
Oh,
knock.
God. Oh, here
Who's
we go.
there?
Fuck yourself.
Ah, man, Whitney. Jeez.
That one was a hard one to think
You
of.
know, well,
I worked a
sometimes
long
she's scraping
time.
the bottom of the barrel. You miss 100% of the shots.
They're
you
not
get.
all winners.
They can't all be winners, guys. You don't know what it's like in here trying to just grind on the writing. All right, we got some great questions to address today. So let's take a look at the first one, titled Unlucky in Lust. Hi, guys. Long-time listener, first-time writer. I've been agonizing for weeks about how to best explain my situation and what to even ask other than help. So here it goes. My fiance and I have been together 6 years and are supposed to get married at the end of this year. However, as we've been doing counseling to prepare for our marriage, lots of old challenges and concerns have reared their heads. The most challenging of them has to be our lack of intimacy. At the beginning of our relationship, that was never a problem, but as we've gotten older, it's slowly taken a back seat. At first, this wasn't a problem for me, as I, in general, have a low libido and severe ADHD. It's never been high on my priority list to have sex. Recently, though, I've noticed it's been even less than less. I have to ask for hugs and kisses, never mind being intimate, and feel like I'm forcing myself on my partner when I try and cuddle. His reactions are never outright negative, but they're not positive either. When I asked him about that, he explained that he's been having body dysphoria and struggles to want to be intimate when he feels so bad about himself. He's always had trouble expressing himself emotionally, but I can usually tell how he's feeling by how he expresses himself physically. I know sex hasn't been a priority for me, but I feel like without some physical contact, we're just good buddies and roommates. My own insecurities have come up as well, telling me that it's my fault he feels this way because I'm too ugly or fat, which has pushed me even further away. How do I support him while he feels this way while we're still getting the physical touch, or while I still get the physical touch I desire? I've tried spicing things up before by putting attention on me, but that makes me feel worse because he has zero reaction to it. Not on his face or in his body language. He seems so caught up in his own struggles that he can't see past them, and putting myself out there only makes me feel rejected. How do I even approach this topic with him without hurting his feelings or making it all about me? Thanks for any help you can offer. Andy. My pronouns are she and her.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay. Who wants to take a shot at this one first?
Have you ever had Andy's mints?
Oh, yeah. I love
Those are
those.
so
All
good.
right. Well, that wasn't helpful.
One's wrapped in a green foil that they usually put on
Yes.
the pillow at the hotel. God, those things are so
Love
I,
those.
I can jump in.
Hey,
a
thank you,
little.
Whitney. Hey,
You gotta
thanks.
eat those
This is
mints
my
by the
first
dozen.
question after my
kinda hungry.
introduction.
No, God, I'm starving.
Yeah.
Go get some food. Maybe Nick can pop for Bill. Okay,
Jim,
that sounds
divert.
good. Oh, sorry.
So unless I, misread or misheard something, it sounds like she hasn't really asked him what he needs from her. So she's like, I've tried doing these things, but maybe because it's not really about her putting herself out there, it's about him, just asking him like, hey, what can I do for you to help? Or what can I do here that would help you? Maybe it's complimenting or like reassuring him more, or I don't know. Those seem like things maybe they've already done or she's already done, but
I didn't get the sense that they have. But I
Yeah.
will say the problem becomes way easier once we've already started talking about it,
yeah.
right? When both people recognize that, yeah, this is a problem for me. I get that it's a problem for you too. All right, now we've made progress because it's on the table. Now we can actually do something with it. But like, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Like with what I've read, is it sounds like the writer kind of gathers this, but this is not a conversation they've actually sat down and had a discussion with.
Yeah, and it's noted that maybe her partner's having trouble expressing emotions, but I don't even think it's about finding the emotions. It's more, what can I physically do, like, to help or whatever. So
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really relatable question. I
Yeah.
think that we hear this all the time in therapy. You hear this just on the human level. Lots of people relate to this,
Well,
Andy. It's a very common experience.
And especially the longer you're together.
Yes.
Right? Because obviously,
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, when you first meet, yeah, there's a lot of intimacy, there's a lot of connection, there's a lot of
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But then it's like, after a while, it's like, okay, well, I see you every day. We always
Right.
go through the same thing.
Mhm.
We get into this pattern of this is just kind of what we do, and then we just get tired, and at the end of the day we don't really feel like it, and just
Right.
like, it's, yeah, then you kind of start getting that roommate thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the thing that would scare me if I was in this situation. Like, oh, okay, we're 6 years into this, we're talking about we are engaged to get married,
Right.
we're doing premarital counseling,
Mhm.
like, okay, we're about to make this big commitment, but I feel like this person's a roommate.
Sure.
That's kind of a scary situation to be in.
Yeah.
I do think that I do think there's a lot of hope. I don't think that this is anything that
Oh,
that can't be
definitely.
resolved.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I think the first thing you have to do is, I think you kind of have to take that leap of just saying like, hey, I want to have a conversation with you. Here's kind of some of the things that I've been feeling. I've been feeling like there's a lack of intimacy. I get the sense you also feel that way. Am I reading that correctly?
Right.
And then you can kind of have that conversation. And then from there, then we can start talking about, all right, well, what are some things that we can do? And then that's when you kind of start, that's actually kind of when it becomes fun
Mm.
in a way, because then you get to kind of explore and just be like, well, you know what would be helpful is, I kind of like these things here, and like, oh, okay. Or talk about things that have worked. Like, oh, when you do this behavior, then that's when I'm most likely to respond.
Right.
Oh, I never knew that. Okay, I
Mhm.
can do that more often, and then you can kind of start channeling and trying to find those things that work, as kind of like those love languages that we talk
I
about
was
often.
just going to mention the 5 love languages.
There
Like,
we
how
go.
do they want to feel
Yeah.
like seen, basically, or cared for?
Mm-hmm.
That's the key. So, Andy, a couple of pieces here that I want to reflect on from your letter. One, I really want to normalize this. This happens all the time. And a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves, and they say, oh my God, if we're not having great sex, are we going to be okay? We're not even married yet. Oh no, is this going to deteriorate? Are we going to fall apart? Shouldn't this matter more to me? Shouldn't this matter more to you? Our friends ask me, how's your love life? And I don't have really much to talk about. And then I think, oh no, are other people's relationships more valid than mine? And writer, I really want to speak to that because I want to normalize the experience you are having. A lot of people build up this fear in their head and think, oh no, am I in a bad relationship? Are we incompatible? Or is there some kind of leak in the boat? That's not the case. And the fact that it's already a strong relationship in all the other areas, and this is an area that you've mutually never had that much of a need for, that the both of you have been mostly happy. And you've said, like, look, their libido is not very high. My libido is not very high. It's just not something we've ever really needed to pursue. Recently, we're trying to pursue it. That tells me, again, that you're allowed to define your relationship how you best fit it. And if that's just not a very sexual relationship, that is okay. Sometimes people fear that, like, that makes it illegitimate or something because they're not ripping each other's clothes off. We have this theory in couples therapy called the triangle theory of love. And you've heard us talk about it on the show in past episodes. But it's a really great way to just appreciate the different ingredients that show up in relationship and how legitimate it is to be anywhere on that triangle. One of the corners of the triangle is sexual passion. We call that intimacy. Another part of the triangle is commitment. So like the connection, the bond, the sense of loyalty. And the other part, or there's passion. I'm sorry, passion is sexual intimacy, commitment, and then there's intimacy, which is friendship. The actual connection, the roommateness. And you're allowed to migrate anywhere on that triangle, and that can include a section that just doesn't have any passion at all, or it's very mild, and it's all considered love. Anywhere in that triangle is part of that theory. So I just want to normalize it. I want to make sure you understand that you shouldn't be afraid. However, if you are a couple and you're saying, man, that we in the very beginning of our relationship, we had the spark, we had that ignition, it's been lost over time. Not only is that predictable, we have psychology theories that explain it. If you want to look up a great book, Esther Perel's Mating in Captivity.
Love Esther Perel.
Love Esther Perel. She has a great TED Talk on it that summarizes it. It's a great book. But basically, in that book, she explains very easily there's an inverse relationship between familiarity and eroticism. That the more familiar you become with somebody, the less instinctively you're going to feel erotic about them because you see them as so many other things to you. They're also the person that wipes your nose whenever you're sick and that you were sweating in the backyard with and doing those other things.
And won't put away the dishes.
Right, and isn't doing the dishes.
Or is going to the bathroom with the door
you're like,
open.
hey, yeah, exactly. You're talking to your mother on the job.
You both gave what I feel like were very specific examples.
No. Just throwing out an ambiguous,
totally
vague,
random.
yeah, very
Never been
general
there.
terms. But yeah, so she explains in that book the inverse relationship, and she offers a lot of hope for those trying to rekindle romance because she talks about how to recapture eroticism. And she has very many methods described in the book, but one of her chief ones is how do we recapture eroticism in long-term couples by increasing a lack of familiarity? And she talks about how to bring that back by discovering the mystery of your mate, discovering things about them you don't know, entering into scenarios that you're unfamiliar with how they would think or be, and starting conversations about things that you didn't know about them, and kind of recapturing the mystery of the other. Which is inherently interesting and sexual because part of sex is the desire to attract a mate. And it's part of that is the fear of not knowing if they will like you, won't like you, and the sense of affirmation of the sexual connection. And so all those things need to be things you have to want from the other person in order to experience something from the sexuality. Mm-hmm. So great book on that topic. I want you to understand that theory's out there that explains you can be anywhere inside of those orbits and just, to normalize that. The last thought that I'll offer you, because I like that you're exploring, you talked about trying to spice things up. You said kind of doing things for yourself. And I assume that means dressing up sexy or, putting something on like a little bit of a show, like, hey, here I am trying to entertain you. But then you mentioned like that feels a little awkward. Like I just don't know it's going anywhere. It's hard. I'm not seeing my partner react to that verbally, physically. It's hard to read their body language. Another thing you could try that I think I've seen a lot of people have success with, there's a lot of products on the market now that are like date boxes. And so I like these because there's like ones that are more sexual in nature, ones that are kind of mixed. And I have a lot of couples that have benefited from subscribing to these date boxes. And they get this cute little date in a box like once a month or once every other week, however often they subscribe to it. And it will have games in there that they're meant to play. They're not always sexual to start off with. It's meant to just be intimate and bonding. And then you can buy ones that are designed to drift into a sexual lane. And for a lot of couples, that helps them start to language things that are unfamiliar to them or explore space that they blush at naturally, or they wouldn't pursue each other without something like this. But then when they have a game that they're playing that tells them, now do this, or here's the next activity you're going to do this, there's an ushering in and a direction to that some couples find to be really structured, and it's still mysterious. It's exciting. You didn't write this. You don't know what the game's going to tell you to do, and you get to explore some boundaries and try new things. So I find a lot of couples actually have a lot of success with that.
It's called Date in a Box?
There's many different versions, yeah. The theory of it is that you can generally refer to them as date boxes, but there's probably 10 different companies doing it.
I'm on dateinabox.com.
Yep. There's a lot of them that are designed by therapists, which is really encouraging. There's a lot of products that are designed by therapists, just increase connection in the relationship.
So if you go to any of these websites and you buy anything, use the code PodTherapy at checkout.
Make sure you do.
And nothing
that way
will happen.
Your credit card will be declined.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. And then you'll be added to spam mail.
The only thing I'd add to any of that is work on maybe work on normalizing just talk about the sexual relationship.
Yeah.
it's a weird thing that a lot of us kind of skirt around when we're talking even to our partners, and it's good and frankly kind of convenient to just be able to have frank conversations about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, like, I think your partner's probably on the same page. Like, I doubt that you're going to bring this up and then your partner's gonna be like, what?
Yeah.
This has been amazing. You're not happy, you know, and it's like,
Right.
yeah, there's probably something to talk about. And I think if you talk about it from the perspective of, like, not fear-based, but like hopeful, like, hey, I think we can overcome this.
Right.
You know, because you can. Like, couples go through this all the time.
Right.
This is pretty common.
Well, then, Whitney, that's, I appreciate your thoughts on that, because like that's kind of what you were saying in the beginning was, let's make this conversational so that we can break through some of the insecurity about it.
Yeah.
Because especially if your partner's telling you like, look, it's not you. I don't feel good about my body, and like I don't feel sexy.
Yeah.
And so then the whole thing feels very exposing if you're in that state of mind.
Well, and again, I not to like generalize, but I feel like for women, a lot of time, the stereotypical like couple is like the man pursuing the woman in heterosexual relationships, and so when they aren't doing that, I think women tend to naturally go to a place of like, what's wrong with me, or why is this going against like the natural way of things, when really men are just humans, and like it sounds like their partner's definitely dealing with some body image issues.
That's a great point. And then also, I mean, as you get older, men's sex drive just drops off.
Yes, and women's increase.
Like, yeah.
What? See, this is why there's no God. See, that's just it right there. Why would a cruel God create such a situation?
I'm confused too.
This just doesn't make any sense.
There's either no God or God is not loving.
Yeah, you
don't get
These are options. These are options. No, but you're right, because like, and I like how you point this out, the stereotype. Like I follow TikTok like crazy because that's my happy place. Don't take it, Biden. I love my TikTok. But there's all these jokes that will show up, and it'll be like, if your husband's not, trying to hump you when you're doing dishes, does he even really love you? And it's like a joke, but then it's kind of like, you're right. If you're a woman, you see it, you're like, wait a minute. Like,
that's what
that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
My absolute favorite meme is the one where the couple, they're in bed, and the husband's got his back to her, and he's
what is he
staring off.
thinking about?
What is he thinking?
Yes.
He's probably thinking of another woman.
It's like how many innocent people died when the Death Star exploded the second time? It's like something really crazy like that.
He's probably thinking of another woman.
Yeah.
It's always something crazy.
One of my favorite ones was where it was like, oh, he's probably off cheating, and then it shows a picture of a guy in the shadow of a giant windmill, and he's like jumping over the shadow blades. That is so accurate.
Cheating on you with Don Code.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man. So Andy, I hope that you're getting some good feedback from this. We all want to normalize your experience, give you hope that a lot of couples are working on this exact same thing right now. That's why there's so many good theories on it and so many good books. And hopefully we've name dropped a few products and services that you might find. I love that you're already doing couples counseling. Don't be afraid to bring this topic up to a therapist.
Yeah.
A lot of times people don't want to bring it up because they're like, oh, I don't want this to make it itchy. And you mentioned like the couples counseling is already kind of bringing up some past stuff. And it's like, oh, and you know what? Lean into the tension. Lean in. And don't be afraid to ask the therapist, hey, do you have any recommendations for things we should be trying? Any thoughts on this? Or have you heard of any research? Sometimes therapists don't know how much to step into sex life, because we're kind of reading you very carefully, and we don't want to push too far, or like we don't know what your cultural boundaries are, or what we don't know if you have trauma or things like that. Especially if the couples work hasn't discussed sex stuff out loud very much, we just hinted around it. We need you to be verbal and come right to us and say, "Hey, I'm trying to get laid, yo. Help me."
You can say it just like
Say
that.
it
They
like
will
that.
know. That will be the cue.
They know the lingo.
Yes.
That's right.
The therapeutic lingo.
That's right. And then
As
that's
Whitney
when
said before we started recording, want to get some stank on that hang low.
Yeah. That was almost exactly how she said it.
Verbatim.
That's
I believe she said, want to get some stank on that hang low, y'all.
Y'all.
Yeah, she just added y'all at
The
the end.
Southern charm really redeems all the
Charming
vanity.
Southerner.
So dark. All right,
That's
great
right.
question, Andy. Love the mints. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about feeling lost. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Dawn, Malia, Richard Macy, New Stick, Polygon, University Jeff, Samantha Cohn, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, and Sunny Boy.
Sunny boy.
Would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. We've got another set, actually the original set of trivia from Alec on particle physics, but we never actually got to finish. So here we go.
Oh, you guys are fucked. Really good. I'm undefeated about particle physics shit. You guys are really good at this whiskey
We've done
shit.
it one time.
And I'm undefeated, bitch.
Okay.
That's how that works.
What function does a boson serve?
Shit.
A, to give mass to other particles,
Mm-hmm.
to give electric charge to other particles, to confuse people, to carry forces, or E, they are construction made up by they are a construct made up by physicists to ensure continued funding for the field.
Oh, man.
All right, give us the options again.
Yeah, thank you. I was
It could
like,
be
I
all
forgot
those.
it.
To give mass to other particles,
Mm-hmm.
to give electric charge to other particles, to confuse people. I'm going to eliminate that one. To
I don't
carry
know why.
to carry forces,
Legitimate.
or they're made up by physicists to ensure continued funding for the field.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of true. Because isn't everything in the particle zoo?
Carry forces. That's my
Okay, so
answer.
you're gonna
That's
say
kind of where I'm
carry
at. That's D, right?
That's D.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards as well.
It is that. It is to carry forces. And then he threw in the one about imparting mass.
You sound very sure on that.
It
I
is that.
haven't even guessed yet.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
You can guess wrong if
Oh,
you
no,
want.
no. I'll
That's
go
fine.
to carry other forces.
No,
To
go with
carry-
the one to
No,
impart mass.
No,
That's fine.
Let's just go with D.
I know it doesn't give charge. It may
Yeah,
be
that'd
that
be
it'll
a
confuse people.
Proton.
Yeah, it'd be electron. But then you've got
Or protons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then
Don't
to-
correct her that fast. It's
do
definitely
the
protons
mass-
are definitely the other side of that.
The mass one, I think, is thrown in there to distract because you think of the Higgs boson, and you know that has to do with the gravity field. And
Oh, yeah, we
mass.
know that. Just kidding.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that before the show.
We were.
I remember at
That's
sushi, which
Yeah.
we didn't pay for.
No.
Did you pick up that check? I didn't
did
pay.
not.
Oh shit!
I didn't either. I guess.
hope that guy got his
whoops. Correct answer. Yes, D.
Hey,
Bosons named after the Indian physicist. I'm not going to try that name. For developing
Dr.
the theory
Boson.
Yeah,
of
that's not that hard.
Bose-Einstein statistics are particles that carry/mediate the fundamental forces of the universe.
The
Thank you,
more
Alec.
know. I love these
Yay.
questions. Good job, Alec. And I appreciate your attempts to red herring us, but did not work, my man. Feeling lost from Lucian. Hey, Jim, Nick, and Jacob, and Whitney.
Rude.
I've been listening for a bit now. And
Feel
I'm-
free to just put Whitney's name in a whisper
Yeah.
in all of your upcoming
It's
emails.
Always in parentheses.
Yeah. Smaller font. maybe about a 70% of the male font.
Yeah, I figured it was going there. I was like,
Oh, that's
in my
funny.
place.
I've been listening for a bit now, and I'm almost caught up with the recent episodes. I'm still working on the backlog. I love the show, and it's been helping me through bad days. I know the feeling of being lost has been discussed, but I want to throw my hat in and see where it goes. I'm 22 years old, and I feel alone. I graduate with my bachelor's degree in the fall, and I'm ready for it to be over. This is mainly because I don't feel like I have anyone to talk to. For background, I'm an HSP, parentheses, this is Jim talking. That probably means highly sensitive person. I have terrible anxiety and my depression comes and goes, staying for days at a time when it hits. It takes me a long time to process stuff and I have a hard time sitting still. I prefer to be given stuff that I can't overly process, and it takes time for me to process stuff. A friend says I have a faulty processor. I agree, which makes school and life so hard to face. People keep asking me, what do I want to do with my life? Where do I want to go? And all that fun stuff. I don't have an answer. For me, I haven't had the time to think about that. Been figuring out who I am. Heck, I just threw out the concept of gender 2 weeks ago because I got tired of thinking about something that confuses me, even though most things do confuse me. It seems like everyone is supposed to have stuff figured out, and everyone is supposed to be talkative and engaged at every second. I feel like there's a giant storm going on around me, and all I can do is hold on to a rock and pray I don't get flung off. The world's going too fast for me, and all anyone tells me is, that's life, or it's not that hard. Or the worst, stop being so sensitive and overthinking everything. Geez, I wish it was that easy. To add insult to injury, the friends I can talk to about this stuff often distract me instead of letting me speak, because we're a pile of anxiety-ridden empaths who all need therapy. I'm not sure now how to move forward.
I didn't realize those were divided into piles.
That's buckets, usually. We measure them by
That's
group.
where I put anxiety-ridden empaths.
Flock of empaths.
Buckets.
Yeah, buckets. I'm not sure how to move forward, and the anxiety of everything is so overwhelming that I just feel like going to live in a box where no one will ever find me again. I can just be where I feel like I already am. I feel like a black sheep. This stuff is just scratching the surface of what makes me feel so different. Wearing black all the time probably doesn't help. Sorry for the word spaghetti, but my mind's all over the place right now, and I thought, why not try those pod therapy guys? So, how do I feel less like an outcast? How can I find my way in a world that just tells me to toughen up and deal with it? How do I cope until I can manage to find myself a therapist? Anyway, love the show. Hope you keep doing it. Sorry for the mess, but at least my anxiety didn't stop me this time, and that's why I'm not proofreading. Whoops. Hope you guys are doing better than me. I'm gonna go try to get some sleep. Lucian, any pronouns are fine. P.S. I bought Jim's book, trying to find the time to actually read it. Oh, thanks.
Aren't we
Lucian.
all?
Aren't
You
we
didn't just
all?
need to like prop something up.
So were Nick and Jacob. They too.
I'm
are
actively not.
eventually going to.
If you two would like to check out that book, it's called Fatherly Advice.
No,
Yep.
that's not true. He's a liar. Dadvicebook.com.
I mean, before the therapists in the room get to the rest of it, nobody's got their shit together.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you for validating
that part of it, let's just take that right off the table, Lucy.
22 years old.
Yeah.
You know,
my
that's
gosh,
how many of us
yeah.
felt like that?
Nobody
Yeah.
has their shit together.
No.
Everybody's faking it till they make it.
Yeah, nor
and
should
nobody's
you.
making it.
You probably shouldn't have your shit together at that
No.
age.
No.
think
22
that's-
years old, finishing up college, just feeling like nothing makes sense
My,
yet.
my first piece
I
of
mean,
advice.
Nick's almost 42, and he doesn't have his shit together.
Almost. Yeah.
By the time you hear this, he will be.
He will be.
Yes, yeah. I hope
He's
it,
God.
hope
I
it
mean,
gets
Nick.
better.
Nick is a train wreck. Let me tell you, this
No.
guy can't predict March Madness to save his life.
You should see him golf.
No.
He's
Oh,
terrible.
horrible.
Yeah.
And yet he loves it. You know, can't
Yeah.
stop himself. It's just
Can't
terrible.
stop, won't stop. My first piece of advice was kind of a joke, but now that I think about it, I think I kind of like it, which is start a podcast.
How most of mine
That'll
come off.
Yeah. I mean, but I kind of joke start a podcast, you know, but like in a way, I feel like you kind of need some outlet of like, you think a lot about stuff, and I don't know as if the answer is to not think as much. I think the answer, in my opinion, is to find a way to channel that, like finding some way of being able to allow yourself to process it. And it's going to be hard to find people to do that with, because I think a lot of times people kind of get into problem solving mode, and they're just like, they just want to give you an answer and then just be like, okay, and now can we get back to what we were doing? As opposed to actually being able to sit down and have like a really good conversation. And there's very few people that you can do this with, you know, like I really enjoy this, to be able to like have that kind of connection with somebody where you can like sit down at a table and just like, hey, what do you think about this, this crazy concept, and just be able to kind of think about it. And both of you are kind of on the same page, and just be able to process it and not try to come up with an answer necessarily, but just actually be able to have a good conversation and a discussion. It sounds like you don't really have that. So my first thought was you need to have some kind of outlet for that, whether that be maybe journaling or some sort of writing a blog, posting it on the internet, doing a, any kind of podcast or something where you're expressing some of this, and maybe other people can listen in and hear it and, get something from it, and you kind of find your audience that way. That's kind of my thought, but I don't think that's the full answer, but that's just the first thing.
That's a good place to start with it. So we all probably felt, I think, generally confused, at that age. And, we talk about highly sensitive people and trying to, talk to your friends when they too have that tendency toward empathy. And this is an interesting therapeutic skill, right? Because the writer says, yeah, I try to talk to people and like they just try to tell me to cheer up, right? Like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, it's going to be okay. There's, it's not that hard. Don't, it's fine. Like, and they try to comfort you so quickly. And the writer seems to be saying, that kind of sucks. And like, as therapists, that's one of the things that I think we're trained in really early is like, don't solve it.
Yeah.
Don't dismiss it.
Like embrace it almost.
Embrace it. Yeah. Like, it's almost like if I come to you and I'm like, I don't know, Whitney, I feel like it's really broken, really confused. And what should I do? And like your therapist voice is to go, well, that does sound really hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, no, I mean, but like, do you think I'm going to be okay? Are any of us going to be okay?
Yeah.
It's a really good question.
Are any of us okay?
No, I don't.
But when I kind of piggybacking off what Jacob was saying too, where people are sort of responding with, everyone deals with this, toughen up, all this stuff. It's like, because we've all dealt with it, they're coming from a perspective of, I guess, trying to say that probably in some way. Like, yeah, I didn't know either, but they're not going to be vulnerable enough to tell you that. They're just saying, get over it because we've all been there. But really what they're trying to say is, yeah, it is hard, but they're not going to say it that way.
Right. Or to reassure and say it gets better.
Yeah, yeah.
Best case scenario you're getting from somebody saying that, which is, probably a genuine thought that a lot of your friends have, is, yeah, I dealt with this stuff too, and I got through it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not that they have their shit together.
Yeah.
There's just other shit that has popped up since then for them, and you're not talking about that shit right then.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you get through stuff. I mean, something else is going to pop up, and you get through that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those things that I know for a lot of us, when we're at those kind of fork in the road moments in life, we find ourselves looking in every direction, kind of like this squirrel, like terrified, like, oh, should I go this way? Should I go that way? What does this mean? I'm feeling this about this friendship. Is this person mad at me? Especially for those of us that are, I am this. I mean, if you're playing Jim's Neurotic Bingo.
With anxiety.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you're playing Jim's Neurotic Bingo at home, like you can go and bubble that in, like, empathy, like to the extreme, like highly sensitive, like, oh, I upset that person. I say the wrong thing. How'd that text sound? I should use this emoji. Like just constantly second guessing everything, or even thinking like, oh, should I, is this podcast going well? Should I start a YouTube channel? Would that be helpful? Should I expand my practice? How many people should I bring to the practice? Maybe I shouldn't do any of that. Maybe I should just do this on my own and like just start this whole thing on my own. Should I go back to the office? Would that help more people? Should I stay in telehealth? Does that allow me to meet more people where they're at? What should I do? And like constantly this analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of us like get stuck in that. And I guess we're all normalizing this for you, Lucian, but at the same time, this question of how do we start to find the path? And I wish it was simple. I wish there was a formula for this. For me, whenever I'm facing kind of a decision tree in front of me, like all these different paths, unsure about where I should be going, I'm feeling lonely, I'm in my own head, I like Nick's advice of hearing your own voice. And if you don't have somebody in your life that you can hear your voice bounce off of, maybe because those people are not around, or maybe because they lack sort of the therapeutic skill of giving you that space and making you feel heard, then you really have to turn to the journaling. And I'm a big fan of audio journal. I find that is the most effective way for me to hear my own thoughts. And I'll just turn my phone memo on. I'll drive off into the middle of nowhere, and I'll just sit and start talking like I'm talking to a therapist. And I become my own therapist because of that. And I like flesh out the ideas and I consider them. And then I'll use that information, or I'll listen to myself. I'll go back and listen to that tape and I'll hear myself. But when I'm hearing myself, I mean, I am a therapist, so like my brain starts to hear the concept differently because now I'm hearing another person talk to me. And then it's like I have so much more clarity about what I was listening to. And I think, oh, well, you're being too hard on yourself for that thing, or that's wrong sized, or maybe, what, you're bumbling around with 3 general directions. Okay, that's a good start. Like, let's start there. Let's do some research on this. Let's learn some more here. So I'm a big fan of illumination through kind of self-dialogue. If that's possible for you, that's a really good step in the right direction.
Yeah, I'd give it a shot, because I do think that once you're able to kind of start processing this, you're going to start feeling better about it. You're going to start feeling like you have some kind of direction. And I think, I don't know, I just feel like if you lean too much on other people to try to find that for you, I think they're going to dismiss it, like we've said.
And of course, if you don't already have a therapist, look into getting a therapist.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, and that goes a long way because one of the things Lucian ended with was asking, how do I feel like less of an outcast, right? In a world that just tells me to toughen up and deal with it. I mean, that is partly what therapists want to do, is we want to be that person that sees you. You feel like you're in a storm. You feel like you're this little atom in this world that's so complex and spinning. And when we can kind of, a boson to say, you know, a thing that provides force. I mean, you know, like that. It's a really good callback.
Which is something
to
we all knew.
We all knew it. I mean, we all got
We
the
did.
same amount of points on that
We
question.
Yep. We're physicists.
I think if you can do that kind of work, finding a community, finding a therapist, or hearing yourself, that is probably the answer to how do we kind of zoom in on that outcastness? How do we see ourselves and not, you know, that's how you cope. But be assured that what you're going through is very normal. It does get better. And the people that are dismissive of you, I wish they weren't, but I agree with Whitney. I think that they're accidentally revealing that it does get better, that they've experienced this and they relate to you. Yeah. So they're reassuring you in a sense. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to, I love this question. Help, I've fallen into nihilism and can't get up. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Dawn, Malia, Richard Macy, Newstick, Polygon, University of Jeff, Samantha Cohn, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, and Sunny Boy. And if you would like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy.
Do some physics. I'm ready.
Second question, thank you, Alec, is a protein is a composite fermion, I think, made up of 2 up quarks and 1 down quark.
It said protein or proton?
Proton. Is that what I said?
You said protein.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, food.
Proton.
I didn't even know protein was part of physics.
Who could eat right now anyway?
I could.
It was all you could eat. I don't know.
Yeah,
where
we
you
can
get
go
more.
back.
Yeah, it doesn't mean all you can eat now,
saying.
right? Yeah.
All right. Approximately, what is the lifetime of a proton?
Oh,
Okay.
my.
1 femtosecond, 1 nanosecond, 1 second, 20 minutes, 1 year, 10 to the 29th power years, or infinite. What is the lifetime of a
Oh
proton?
my god.
I'll go first.
Yes.
Jim, do you feel like you know this one again?
I do.
All right, Jim says he knows this one. I will go with infinite.
Okay.
I was torn between that one and the 10 to the 29th, whatever. What was
Yeah.
that one? I'm
10
going to
to
go
the
with that
29th.
one.
The other really long one?
The other really long one, yeah.
The really long one that wasn't quite infinitely long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 10 to the 29th. Because if the protons would just decay at that rate, we wouldn't have atoms and we wouldn't have matter. So
Okay.
it
I think
takes a
I'll go
while.
with 10 to the 29th.
Yeah.
It's a solid answer.
Okay. Let's see what the answer is. Hold on. Let me
I could see it being an argument for infinite, but
I'm going with infinite because
mathematically, I think it's 10 to the 29th.
I went with infinite because matter cannot be created or destroyed.
See that? But it like energy transfers.
Sure.
Right, but a proton can.
But a proton
it can dissolve
is
to its
a basic
quarks.
building block of matter.
The
Okay.
particles inside of it could be
Correct answer is F, which
Infinite.
is no.
10 to the
10 to
29th.
29.
Ah.
Protons are, as far as we know, the most stable composite particle in the universe.
There you go.
Which is good because stuff is made up of protons, and
Stuff.
otherwise the universe wouldn't exist.
Thank
Thanks,
you for that.
I'm glad we all at least had the right idea.
Yeah,
We were on the right
we were all
track.
shopping
Yeah, yeah.
around the right.
Even with
ones here.
infinite, I feel
I
like
would
I
have
was
chosen infinite if you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel okay about being wrong on that.
So I guess Jim and I win.
yeah. I think everybody's tied.
Good job,
Is
Nick.
that how that works?
No, I'm down
What?
one.
I won.
Yeah,
Oh,
wait,
I
all
was
three
like,
of you
I got
tied.
both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you
Or
didn't
is
win
just
this
today?
one.
No, she said.
I said
Oh,
10
no,
to
she
the
definitely said that.
29th.
Oh, you did?
I'm the only one who
Yeah.
said it. She
Yeah.
said she thought about infinite, but I had already said it.
Yeah, but I said I'm going to do the
Yeah.
10 to the 29th.
Okay.
Yep. So it's
Listen
a
to it
dead
later.
heat. Do we have tiebreakers?
Yeah, we do.
Hell yeah! All right, end of the show is gonna be fun. We'll take that. Help! I've fallen into nihilism and I can't get up. From Anonymous, I think. Oh, it's Anonymous. Oh, that's fun. Hey guys, remember me? It's Anonymous. I just got off the phone with my best friend after talking about some big issues I've been having. I should have done this months ago. I've been suffering in silence since November or so, letting all these problems compound and grow. I don't know why I keep isolating myself and having to relearn this lesson over and over again. Maybe because I'm depressed, maybe because growing up, I felt like I couldn't talk about my problems because nobody would care. Maybe because my family generally doesn't discuss mental health problems. I'm not sure. Anyway, all these horrible thoughts have built up in my head. I can't trust anyone. I keep chasing things and nothing makes me happy. Everything or everyone is disappointing. There's just no point. Love isn't real. There's so much suffering, corruption, and evil. Life is one long miserable emergency. I've got a million things to do and none of them matter. I'm tired. I just want to stop. Nothing can save us. All this is burying me in a pit of existential nihilism, and I can't get out of it. Lately, topics of religion, existence, and life have taken over my mind. I grew up Christian and took it quite seriously, but the final straw came at 21 years old when my best friend came out as gay. I thought, do I choose my precious best friend, who I love, I see, and talk to daily, or God, who I've never seen, doesn't answer my prayers, makes me feel overwhelmed, and will throw me and my friend into a pit of hell? I never agreed with the Bible on the LGBT thing, so it was an easy choice. Later, I had a partner who was spiritual, y'all might call it woo. I adopted some of those beliefs because they seemed a lot kinder than Christianity. I really wanted it to be true, and I believed that he said about the science behind it, or I believed what he said about the science behind it. But after a while, I realized it was all crap and a waste of time. I had no evidence for this. I have no evidence for God. I have no evidence for anything. Now that I'm free of these beliefs, I'm finally reckoning with it for the first time. I'm not going to heaven or hell or reincarnation. I'll probably just be gone. I lost my grandmother when I was 14 years old, and I'll never see her again. I lost my grandfather last year. I'll never see him again. And when my parents die, I'll never see them again. Maybe there is something more, but at this point, I have no reason to believe it, and it absolutely sucks. Part of me wishes I could go back to believing just to feel better, but most of me wishes I'd never grown up with religious beliefs at all. They've distorted my thinking and hurt me in so many ways. There's only one life I know I have for sure. If I'm going to be miserable the entire time, then I should just get it over with. If I can't be happy, then like the suffering animal that I am, I should be put out of my misery. Or I can try to enjoy whatever time I've got left. Luckily, my friend on the phone, the same friend I chose over God, is an optimist. He told me I can't give up. I can make my life whatever I want it to be, and I can try to make life better for others as well. He told me I've got to challenge all these bad ideas and evict them before they get too comfortable. He's right. I know he's speaking wisdom. This kind of thing comes naturally to him, but it's very hard for me, especially on a bad day. The best I can usually manage is to tell myself to stop being so dramatic. I've got a Spanish therapist, but he's not helping much so far. So I've also got appointments.
Do you speak Spanish?
Because
if you
probably
don't,
the problem.
If you don't, I see an issue immediately.
I think right
Solid
away.
question.
It jumps right off the page.
Yeah.
I got a Spanish therapist, not helping much so far. So I've also got appointments to see my original therapist again, starting in a couple days. I came back to Theratopia a month or so ago and disappeared again, but by the time you read this, hopefully I'll be back for real. I was doing well for most of 2022, but now I've got to stop isolating myself again. Talking things through really does help. Even socializing in general as a distraction is better than sitting alone with these thoughts. I don't know why that's so hard for me to understand. Anyway, please help me pull myself out of existential nihilism. I feel very empty inside. I want to believe in something again, but something real. Signed, Anonymous.
Okay. Great question.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
So, the very first thing that I wanted to jump to, if I could find it in your letter, all these horrible things have built up in my head. I can't trust anyone. I keep chasing things and nothing makes me happy, so on and so forth. So the very first thing I would say to you is you will find what you look for. So if you're saying things like, I can't trust anyone, then those are the things that you're going to find. You're only going to find evidence that supports existing beliefs. It becomes really hard to identify evidence that disproves a belief. That's that confirmation bias, right? So whatever the belief is, we look to support it. We don't look to disprove it. So I do like the fact that you have become aware of some of these thoughts and some of these beliefs. I think now the next thing was we need to understand that the evidence that you see for these things is going to be completely lopsided. And if you can start looking for things that disprove beliefs or that prove healthier beliefs, more productive beliefs, then I think that would be a good start.
It's a big question. A lot of interesting, deeper philosophy stuff here. We're talking about, I think, the human condition in so many ways, you know, and also existentialism, you know, and kind of getting into some really interesting areas of therapy with that.
Yeah. I think piggybacking off what Nick was saying a little bit, the verbiage to that, those black and white thinking all or nothing, like I can't trust anyone, or everyone is disappointing, kind of challenging those thoughts and coming up with what's more accurate. But as far as the existential part, it kind of brought me back to college, so I'm not going to remember all the deets, but
as I recall, it was a Tuesday. It was
I
raining.
know, I'm like Psychology 101. In undergrad, there was we discussed a study that was showing like brain scans of people who tend to be more religious, and just like what parts of your brain light up whenever certain people are like praying, for example.
Oh, yeah.
And so what it kind of showed is that some people are just more prone to naturally believe in something like a higher power. And some people just aren't, like their brain doesn't work that way as easily. But I kind of wondered about this. It sounds like this person is almost like searching for that. Like their brain may be the type of brain that's like, I really want to believe in something else, but their maybe logical part of their brain is thinking,
They're at
no,
war.
you know,
Yeah,
they're at war.
Definitely at war with yourself. So Anonymous, let's dive into some of this existential stuff. So there's a really interesting writer that we all had to study in grad school, and wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. So Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was a survivor of the Holocaust, and he was a psychiatrist, and he lost everything in the Holocaust. And he writes in his book Man's Search for Meaning, the first half of the book is a biography, his story of surviving the Holocaust, losing every single family member he has, witnessing that, all of his wealth, everything. And then watching as his entire nation is destroyed, his culture, all of his community, ripped down to the bones of the human experience. And it was in that broken, empty space that he had to wrestle with this exact question of existentialism. What is my purpose? I'm waiting to be killed, like cattle at a slaughterhouse. I'm just waiting every day to die. I move bags of heavy rocks from one area to another area. I'm beaten in between those two spaces. I'm surviving on crumbs of bread. Everything about me is broken. What do I have any control over? What am I thinking about? And it's in that crucible of pain and non-purpose that he's living in that he discovers the only thing he has control over in his life is his attitude. And I know that sounds like a motivational poster, but it starts with him thinking very deeply about this, that's the one thing the Nazis couldn't take from him. They could take his life. He has no protection about that. He could take everything else that he loved in the world. And they could take his hope. Like he wasn't like, oh, I'm holding on for hope. Like you can never lose hope. Nope, he had lost all hope. But he knew he was going to die there. But he said, the one thing they cannot steal from me is that I alone have the ability to choose how I will react to the world around me. I can choose to be kind to this other person. I can choose to laugh at any given moment. I can choose how I'm going to respond. And it's from that nucleus that he starts to build out this greater theory that he called logotherapy that talks about what is existence and why do human beings need meaning? Why do we need purpose? Why is this different than that? And I find that fascinating. I mean, it's the core of everything that we do. It's the
Yeah.
core of religion. It's the core of politics, the core of society, building legacies. This whole idea that we have to wrap ourselves around something that matters because we don't. We feel like we do not.
Yeah.
And that's the burden of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think my dog is like staying up at night, staring at the moon, wondering who she is, you know, or like what her purpose in life is going to be. I think that she just sleeps peacefully. I don't think she has any anxiety. I think she wakes up the next day and she's like, is there food? You know, and that's it. And like, oh, you know, what noises are here? What smells are here? She's living in the now. Consciousness and sentience comes with it this incredible burden
Yeah.
of being aware that the flickering flame of your self-awareness is one day going to go out. And I think that that's terrifying. That is the existential fear. That is the panic. But one of the things that you're struggling with here in Anonymous is somebody who has thought a lot about religion and a lot about philosophy. You mentioned, I wish I would have never been taught Christian thinking. And, you know, it's caused me some harm down the road. One of the areas that I know myself growing up in Christian thinking that was a burden for me, Christianity in many ways appeals to one concept to create value, to create meaning. And that concept is permanence. Anything that is impermanent doesn't have meaning, but if you do this, follow this, go this route, you will achieve permanence. And that's the thing you should aspire for. You will see your grandmother again. You will see your grandfather again. The people that you love, the friends that you have, the people that you community with, and yourself. You will commune with God, and all this will be permanent. And it gives you this idea, when you grow up in that bakes that value into you. And then whenever you leave that faith, you walk around thinking, oh my goodness, if nothing is permanent, then nothing has value. But ask yourself, Anonymous, if that's actually true. I just enjoyed a temporary but very satisfying meal with friends. It is not permanent. I will hunger again. Nick will lose this bet again next year, and we'll do it all over again.
Most likely.
Most
the
likely.
last
The
time.
stats seem to point in that direction.
Mhm.
But it has no less value because of its temporary nature. And some would argue the birthday party that you're going to experience, the movie that you're going to see, the dinner that you're going to have, this romantic date that you're about to go on, talking to your friend, reading this book, it is beautiful because it is impermanent. Some have even argued if you could go to heaven and be in heaven for all of eternity, talking to the same 10 people for all of eternity, wouldn't that at some point become hell?
Well, yeah,
it's
because
never ending.
I mean, I've seen that before where somebody did a YouTube video about that, and it was about like infinity, and it's just
Right.
like it was a family that was eating spaghetti, and it was the best spaghetti they've ever had. They're like, "Oh my God,
Can we eat this
thank
forever?
you, mother! This is the best spaghetti ever. It was so good." And they finish their plate like, "Oh, I just want some more. This
More
is so good." So
spaghetti.
she comes out with some more, and they eat it. And then like, oh, this is just so good. And she comes out with some more and they eat it. And then more and
Right.
more and more and more. Just that idea that infinity destroys
Yes.
anything good.
Infinite
Like,
joy
you can't
is
have
torture.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
have infinite pleasure, infinite joy.
Exactly. But again, if you come from the Christian tradition, as I did, that is the way we measure things. Something is presented to you as this has meaning because it is permanent, and therefore anything impermanent has no meaning. And whenever you leave that worldview and you say, oh my gosh, I embrace that I am temporary, I embrace that the physical world is temporary, I embrace that one day the earth will crash into the sun and all the dead people buried on this planet will be eviscerated and cremated into stellar dust, and there will be nothing less of our entire existence, that one day the last proton will decay in this universe, leaving nothing but an inky blackness and no evidence that anything was ever here. How can there be value? But that begs this central question that the only value is permanence.
Right.
But that's never been true. That's not how you do anything else in your life. Nothing that you enjoy, nothing that you prize, nothing that you think is important to you is only there because it's permanent to you. It's the exact opposite. You cherish that which you will not possess forever. You cherish your youth because it isn't permanent. You cherish a relationship because you existed before it and you suspect that one day it won't be the same that it is. You cherish the sushi that you had because this bite of sushi is the best. And the next one might be good too.
All free sushi is the best.
Free sushi is the tastiest sushi.
Mm-hmm.
So I bring this to your attention.
I've kind of
Anonymous.
lost my appetite.
No, we're coming right back to that.
It'll be back by
right
this
after.
time next year.
That's right. Honestly, after sushi, it takes 5 minutes and you're just hungry again. But coming back to this point, not only do I think everybody relate to you in this sense, but I just want to come alongside you and challenge how we're thinking about what is valuable. Because if you're grading everything by whether or not it is permanent, then yes, everything is going to seem non-valuable. Friendships will seem non-valuable. You will seem non-valuable. Everything does seem pointless if the metric you're using to measure them is permanence. But as in Nick's spaghetti example, I think it's exactly the opposite. What if I had God in my pocket and you sitting right across from me right now, I could pull God out, put God on the table. God would say, hey, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but Jim's like the special guy who gets to tell people this. I'm real. Everything's permanent. Everybody you've met's going to last forever. You're going to last forever. Nothing will ever change. There'll be eternal joy and sunshine forever and ever. Amen. Okay, then like, how does that change the value you have of things? Because like, you're still going to look around and go, so what's the point? What matters today? Since everything's going to go on forever and ever, amen, and everything's joyful, then what does it matter if I make a friend today? What does it matter if I go do something good today? What does it matter if I try, if I bathe, if I do? Nothing matters because, again, it's permanent, and therefore it is irrelevant. So I would turn that on its head, Anonymous. I would turn that on its head and invite you to reflect and embrace the value of the temporary. Things matter because they decay. Gather ye rosebuds while ye may. That's why it's important. And there can be a joy to that and a beauty to that. And there's a lot of artists and writers and poets that's exactly what's important. It's because something's fleeting. I think if we can start to get you exploring it in that other way, we're starting to steer you into what Viktor Frankl wanted you to do in his existentialist philosophy, where he wanted you to find your own meaning. And he did that without religion. He abandoned his religion in the internment camps. But he found meaning in other things that were temporary, but gave him purpose. And that's something every human has to do.
Yeah.
I've never said this on this show before. I would love for you to explore art.
Yeah.
Jim just touched on it.
Yeah.
And touched on some poetry and everything. There is art that explores this. And then they do it better than we can do it.
Yes.
I mean, there are wonderful artists and poets and authors that have been exploring this for centuries. And it's so much better than what we can do. I'd love for you to just start diving into that and look at it as you don't look at it as homework. Don't look at it as anything more than it is, which is simply exploring a premise.
Yes. Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah.
I wish I knew more about art to be able to say like, oh, you should read this book or, I mean, Battlefield Earth, I feel
It's the obvious
really
choice.
has a lot to say.
Mm-hmm.
That's the obvious choice. Thank you. There's
If you're Jim Jobin,
Michelangelo's David, and Battlefield Earth are really the Mona Lisa.
I just want to point out that I held off on doing my tiny little pocket god voice in the middle of Jim's nice advice there.
Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah.
Hi, Nick. I'm Little God. I live in Jim's pants. Every now and then he whips me out just so I can tell people I'm real. That's me, Little God.
I have the image of like Mickey Mouse with a halo. Like I feel like
I don't know, I'm picturing just like robed, bearded guy.
just little
but he's like happy-go-lucky.
Yeah. Hey guys, how's it going?
He's like leaping into the air and clicking his heels together and everything.
Life has a purpose. Don't forget, don't masturbate. Take care.
Don't you love this planet I created for you? Those dinosaur bones were planted by Satan. Don't believe him.
Oh, Anonymous, thank you for giving us the gift of God in a pocket Jacob voice.
God.
Wee little God. But these are great questions. And you know what? They're so relatable.
They
I
are
love
very relatable.
I love the advice of art. I think that this is huge. Because each one of us has had to struggle with this. It is a deep question.
Yeah.
Especially if you have emerged from religion. We don't talk a lot about religion on the show, but it's a big factor of psychology. It's a big factor of the human experience. And if you've gone from religion out of religion, you have to stare at this question that you were taught your whole life really, really mattered, which is, why do I matter? What is my purpose? And whenever you don't have religion answering that for you anymore, you're left with yourself in the dark room of the universe.
A friend of mine just turned 42, like Nick is doing in a few hours. And this is a real story. This was last week. And he turned 42, and he wanted to have people over to his house, and he wanted to watch The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Because the answer to the ultimate question in the Douglas Adams book is 42, but you don't know what the ultimate question is. but I mean, even in this, comedic British novel that was adapted into screenplays and movies and teleplays and everything, the thing that they are looking for,
yes,
is this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is all that man has searched for the entirety of the existence of man.
Right.
I mean, what you're describing, Anonymous, is what made early people look up at the sun and go like, this thing is beyond my comprehension.
Right.
This thing must be God.
Right.
This, the oceans, looking out into them and going like, there must be things greater than me in these waters. I mean, this is everything. I don't know how to say this very well, because I think when I'm telling you to go look through the art and start exploring it, what I hope for you in that is that you will find pleasure in this same pursuit. This is a pursuit that people have found beauty and found pleasure in over the centuries, and I wish that for you. I hope that in starting to pursue this, that you can really start to find those things. You're not going to find the answer.
Right.
We ain't got it. Right. Or maybe if we do, we don't know it's the answer.
Right.
Unlike the Douglas Adams book, we know the question, but we don't know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know the why and the wherefores and whatnot, and other W words.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there is something beautiful in the search. Mm-hmm. And so I would, maybe kind of think on that, maybe meditate on that a little bit, and think about how you'd like to pursue that. And I think you could, and I think you'll be surprised that in that acceptance of like, well, I'm not going to find the answer,
right?
But I might find an answer that works for me.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
I think there was a quote that I once really liked that appreciated what Jacob just said about mystery, and it said, "Mysticism doesn't make men insane; logic does." It said, "Poets do not go mad; chess players do." And I appreciated the exploration of that it's okay to not know. And it's okay to try to explore something that's invisible to you and that you don't understand. And even, Anonymous, how you talked about how you're trying on the clothes of other religious philosophies right now, and you're very much on a journey, and you're exploring, and you're asking questions for yourself. That's very, very healthy. And even how you said, look, this particular worldview didn't suit me very well. It made me itchy about some things that I did not like that. And so I explored other language. I explored ways of thinking. I love that. I'm a big, big fan. I mean, one of the most satisfying things I have ever learned about in my life was just world religions. And
so interesting.
It is fascinating. Like getting into like the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas, like the Hindu texts. Thank you. The Hindu texts, reading through, what Buddha taught. I mean, it's the Quran. There's a lot of fascinating stuff.
Yeah. And
a lot of us get hung up on like, oh, this religion says what you can and can't eat, or this religion has this very ancient worldview that, is terrible. And okay, that's true too. But like they were also trying to answer some really big, scary questions to them, and to see how that culture tried to answer it and how they thought about what that answer could be or who that answer could be is fascinating. It taught me a lot just about like, okay, this is how humans are.
Yeah.
Great question.
Very good.
All right. Well, as we wrap up the show, we want to remind you that if you sign up at patreon.com/therapy, you can get the extended show. You get it ad-free a day early right in the same podcast app that you're listening to right now. You also are immediately enrolled into our live chat Discord community. You get our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, and research roundups and rants. It's all available at patreon.com/therapy. And we've got some new people to welcome into the community. Who's new with us, Nick?
We do. We got a new therapod, Todd Vroom, man.
Vroom, man. That feels right.
Welcome.
And welcome, or thank you, of course. Oh, go ahead.
It's the first of the month.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the first of the month. Get up, get up, get up. It's the first of the month. What does that mean?
We got names.
We got names to read.
Well, why are you handing it to me?
Because I forgot to print it off.
All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to read what's on Nick's
These are
computer.
all
Let's
of
see.
our,
Pornhub.com. Oh, wait, no, sorry. This is a different tab. Let me.
That's too clean. I don't go to that website.
That's right. All right, it's the
Boy
first of the month.
Scouts.
Oh, Christ. Oh,
Whitney.
I knew.
Whitney. Oh, Lord.
Gotta get one more.
Got to
before
get
the
them all in.
That's what he did.
It's the first of the month. Oh, God.
Whitney.
We thank all of
How
those
could you?
who support us at the Therapod level and up. Thank you, everybody who makes this show possible. Talking about Dan Martin, Dr. Scoop Little, Philip Guyton, Robert Paulson, Mama Ninja Scoop, Tim Mystery, Colin, James Dawson, Almost Dr. Nurse Joy, Scoopstronaut, Lee Popsicle, Ilya Gribkov, Linda Brandmeier, Colin Morrow, Duffy the Slowly Getting There Therapist Bear, Corey Owens, Jacob Harrington, Christopher DeGursey, nailed it, Joseph Pengrazio, Sarah Olo, Kirka Grimm, Brad Kefauver, Grumpy Lake Mead Park Ranger, Irvin Santon, Christine Phillips, Kiana Killjoy, Samantha Santi, Tracy Raplogel, Sam Buck, Trisha Ortiz, Gavin Bristow, Karen McCulloch, Rogan Hastings, Carrie Terhark, Megan Smith, Julius Capel, Stacy Westerland, Kate with an I, Melissa L. Geisler, Richard Bruins, What Weekend, Al, Scooby Jess, Some Nobody, Nico, Ian Whitefall, Tony Skiana, Kirsten Johnson, Kiwi Fruit Scoop, Lila, Joel McMillan, James K, Be Gay, Do Crimes, DJ Seward, Chelsea Saracen, Kelly Gagner, Jeanette Ward, Craig Little, Nippy, Mississippi Hippie, Katie Chiwakowski, Brian Emra, Tiny Home Traveling, Chris and Alyssa, Don Dorr, Drew Helligy, Scott A, Jim Hunter, Alec Lancaster, thanks for the trivia, Alec, Emil, I think, Adam Rabiznik, spelt like it sounds, Matthew Johnson, Chris Conway, Okie Scoop, Keely Flowers, Fifi, Brooks Lyle, A Literal Pickle, Laura B, Matthew Nair, Matthias Vandebrandt, Patty Glad, Take It Evie Podcast, Sustainable Transportation for All, James Hubble, Todd Vrooman, Ali, Max the Ginger Scoop, Cats Millionaire, Todd Canfield, Hannah Marie, Christopher Aguar, Felicia Butler, who might just win our March Madness, Ken Tinsley, David Sorensen, Shayla Bullock, Scoopatron, Lauren Izzo, Adam Petanuzzo, Matt Slenegren, Heather Scoopiter Ascending, Ian Soto, Jessica Cyphers, Charlie Quinn Starling, That Josh Guy, Ken Tinsley, Kimmis Stacy, Protect and Scoop, Alta Engi, Anana Nurse, Jim Mills, Smells Funny, Cody Charrington, Brady Malachik, Matt Kubik, Chad the Safety Lad, and Walter Fluke. Did I get them all?
I think so. Those are all the Therapals.
There we go. No, those aren't the Therapals.
I'm sorry, Therapods.
Yeah, if those are the pals.
Next, we've got the Pterodactyls. So, Jacob, go ahead and pull up the Iowa fight song.
Oh,
Why?
Jacob, pull up the Iowa fight song.
No, that doesn't exist.
Jacob,
Is this the LSU
the
fight song?
Iowa fight song.
Wow, that's very impressive. I just thought it was random trumpets.
I did too.
playing.
I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
LSU beat Iowa in the women's
Did they
college
really?
basketball tournament
Oh,
today.
that is
yeah.
definitive.
So,
So glad to hear
Yeah.
that.
I'm ready to go whenever you got that music.
I don't think
queued
it's
up.
gonna
I'm
show
working
up.
on it.
I don't think it's going to
Takes a
happen.
second.
People don't just have the Iowa fight
I
song.
really
I don't know
don't.
why not.
Yeah. There you go.
There we go. All right, Pterodactyls. Ice Blue Scoop,
Identify
Brian Lehman,
myself.
Scott Brady, Fred Bashara Jr., Andrea Anderson, Lindsay Bashara, Frozen Cusser, Lori Eltsroth, Ryan Stewart, Robert Ward, Scott Ashlock, Chris Cy Shonigan,
Nailed it.
Sandra McWaffle, Dank Butta, Andrew Langmead, Lovely Spark, Celeste Quintero, Pickett, and Kristen Robin.
Those are all the dactyls?
Yep.
Nice.
They only play that song when they win, so you don't hear it
that's why
very
I
often.
never heard it.
Yeah.
Oh, the burn. Get them some ice. And of course, we want to thank our Thera partner, Dirty B, and our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of our fan club, the Thera producers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Dr. and Mr. Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leon Kassab, Cindy Ash, Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Newstick, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley Slap in Your Face, Polygon, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Mike Helm, Myra Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, and welcoming Slurpee Kaye, motherfucker.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy, and thank you for supporting mental health.
Well, that's all the time we got for this week's session. Want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share the episode and tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram and Twitter, /PodTherapy on Facebook. And don't forget to support us at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Jim Jobin.
I'm Whitney.
Yeah, Whitney.
Thanks. We'll see you for your appointment next week.
So we getting some sushi or what?
Oh, God.
Round 2.
I am
Round
hungry.
dose. Famished, really.
What animal name did